Hi guys, welcome to the 2 and 2 pod. I'm your host Angie, and today I'm with
Moses Samuels,
and he is
a music producer, entrepreneur, model, everything creative.
big up yourself. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this,
Thank you for having me.
You know when you were in London before, I literally after the first time we spoke, I was like, I really want to speak to you, but then you were going and I was like, oh. Yeah. And he came back and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna ask him. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. Little icebreaker that I want to do with all my guests. So you know how people sometimes like struggle to say positive things about themselves, but they're so quick to say negative things. I want you to like big up yourself. Like, what's the best thing you've done this year? What are you most proud of?
This year, getting in shape. Definitely. On my it's actually my birthday about a week ago. And on my birthday post, thank you. And on my birthday post, I was actually, speaking and saying that it's interesting how like we work so hard for this big end or goal and don't realize that, sometimes the small goals are just as important as the big ones. So for me, it was just like walking my first runway show in the fashion space.
That's amazing.
Which I'm so grateful
for. That's amazing. I don't think you're deep in it. Like, okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself first to start off with.
Okay, so
what do you do?
Okay, cool. So my name is Moses Samuels. I'm a young entrepreneur who has worked in the music industry for 15 plus years, music producer by trade. But I found myself in so many different areas. So modeling, creative directing when it comes to styling people, and just a host of different things. And I think all of those versions of me make up who I am, essentially.
Yeah. So wait, sorry, when you're saying what you're most proud of, it's like the small things, but what exactly? Give me an example.
So again, like this year, for instance, like, in December last year, I was talking to one of my friends who's a model, and I was like, I want to get into modeling. And you kind of have this preconception of like what modeling is, what it's required, what's required to be a model and stuff. And when he spoke to me, he kind of gave me a lot of confidence and, made me look at it in a very different way. And so in January, I did like my first shoot ever. And then literally the day after, I ended up at a casting. That story is crazy.
No, you need to tell the story, because when you told me that story...
Yeah.
Yeah, so, go on.
So I'll come back to the story. But yeah, so had a casting the day after.
Yeah.
And then within a month and a half, I was signed to an agency. And it was just like, huh? And then literally within 4 weeks of being signed, I was walking in LA Fashion Week. So it was just like, okay, this is interesting.
Is it one of the moments that like it doesn't feel real?
Yeah, it didn't just because of the story. Right. So now I can tell the story, right? So the story basically is in December, a random woman came up to me and she was just like, do you model? And I was like, maybe. Like I was kind of unsure, even though like a couple of days I had written it down on paper and it said like, I'm really going to try and pursue this modeling thing in 2023. So she came up to me, she was like, do you model? And I was like, maybe. And she was like, you should do it. And I'm like, okay, why? And she was just like, because I see so much for you in that space. I see you on billboards. I see you on like, magazines and stuff. And I was like, all right, cool, yeah. Because, you hear prophecies or these people come to you.
I feel like it wouldn't have hit. Like, I hear stuff from people all the time, but it wouldn't hit if you didn't write it down before, because it's kind of like confirmation from God that
thank you very much. Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, in the midst of what she was saying, no disrespect to prophesiers, but they say things like, I see money and I see all of this stuff and whatnot, and you're just like, all right, yeah, cool. I've been hearing that stuff since I was 10.
Yeah,
do you get what I mean? So for me, it's like I always take what they say with a pinch of salt. So I was a little skeptical, but when she said the modeling thing, because I hadn't spoken to no one about it, it was like, keep talking. So then fast forward to, going into ending up at a casting. So it was a Saturday, I'd done my first shoot.
Yeah.
And with my boy Isaac, who's a known model and is doing incredible stuff at the moment. Had the first shoot, it was incredible, it was great. And then literally the day after Sunday, he had a shoot somewhere. So I was like, do you mind if I come and shadow you? And he's like, yeah, come through. So I've gone over there. It's this tall building in Los Angeles. So I get into the building, there's a sign at the front of the lift downstairs, and it says, for all those going for a casting, please come to the 6th floor. My idiot self thought, oh, he's doing a casting, so I've gone to the 6th floor. Now, bearing in mind, most people that go for castings, they usually tell you to wear black. So I was already wearing black. So I said all the cool parts of it. Right, exactly. So I've gone up. So as I've come through the elevator, I've seen like people like just walk into the elevator. So I'm like, okay, cool. One guy says, "Yo, what's up? Like, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, you good?" He's like, "I've seen you somewhere." I'm like, "I don't think so." He's like, "Ah, okay, cool." So him and the other people that were at the elevator leave, and I'm walking looking for this door where Isaac is having this shoot. Go to the end of the corridor, and there's a line. So I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" So I go to the front of the line, and I asked the media at the front, and I was like, "Oh, like, is there like a shoot or something going on?" She was like, "No, it's a casting." I was like, "I'm looking for my boy Isaac. He's a model. Do you know if he's here?" They're like, "We don't know." So I'm feeling stupid at this moment. So I've walked away from the line, and then as I'm trying to contact him, he's not responding. There's a girl who basically is standing, and she goes to me. She was like, "You should do the casting." And I was like, "I ain't doing no casting. I ain't coming for no casting." Obviously, I didn't plan to do nothing. So I was like, "Nah, I'm not doing it." So I've moved away. Something says, "Check your text again." So I check my text. And in the text, it says the door number. So I'm like, damn, I'm on the wrong floor. So I've gone to the second floor. I found him eventually. And he says, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you." And I'm like, "Where have you been? I've been calling your phone." He's like, "Sorry, I'm doing a shoot." I was like, "Yeah, I was looking for you. I ended up on the 6th floor and there's a casting." He says to me, "Did you do it?" I'm like,
dragged you right back.
He dragged me all the way upstairs to the front of the line. And then the girl's like, "Oh, you found him?" And then he goes, "Yeah, he found me. He's also doing this casting." So he puts my name down. You have to do like there's a website, like a QR code. You put your name in and whatnot, and then it asks you, "Do you have any recent pictures?" I just did a shoot yesterday, the day before. So all of these little things were making sense. So gone in now. As we've gone in, there's like, it looks like America's Next Top Model like style seating. Like, I'm mad
how
nervous.
did the models was it like your typical like tall, skinny models?
No, it was
what
different.
I've noticed recently is like in the modeling field, it's not even like that anymore.
No, it's very different. Society is ever changing and evolving, and there's a lot more inclusivity. So it's like you don't have to be skinny, tall.
Like the shoot I was at yesterday, the models, I was thinking, I think a couple years ago this would have never been.
It would have never been, yeah. But our world has become a little bit more, way more sensitive now than it ever has been. So now we're really like adhering to people's needs.
Big on like inclusivity.
Kind of breaking the lines of racial disparity and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? So you're getting all types of different models. And that was one of the conversations that my boy had with me in December, because I had this preconception that, okay, models, you have to be skinny, you know, you need to have cheekbones, you need to have something special about you. And he was just like, "Nah, it's like change." And there's so many different avenues of modeling. It's not necessarily just walking down a runway, like, or casting for something. Like people that do commercials, they're all models, essentially. Do you get what I mean? And there's actually a website called Casting Networks where they have all of these jobs. So you see when we're watching all these Christmas adverts and stuff, and you see all of these families that present, they're models, essentially.
True.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's different spaces. So, but yeah, I ended up in this room. The media tells us what's gonna happen. And there's a video, my boy video, and he's like, "Calm down, breathe," because he could see I was nervous as hell. Anyway, long story short, did all the demonstrations that we needed to. And they were asking people questions of their age and who they were and whatnot. When they got to me, they were just like, "What's your years of modeling experience?" I'm like, "Today's my first day. I've never walked." And they're like, "What? No way." And lo and behold, like, they told me to wait behind while everyone left. And they were just like, "There's something unique about you. There's something really cool about you and how you carry yourself." And you walked in and there was just an energy and whatnot. And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And then made it to phase 2 and 3, and then before I knew, I was signed to the agency. So it was just nothing I had.
That's such a mad transition, because I don't know if we've said it yet. Moses is a Grammy-nominated music producer. He's big. He's very big.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so the transition from like being a producer to modeling is crazy. And what I even realized yesterday when I went to the studio and like obviously the producer was making beats, and I'm not gonna lie, I've never been in the like music space.
Right.
And it was just so amazing to see. Like, I don't think you guys understand how talented you are, because he was making the beat and I'm listening to it and he's like, "Say whatever comes to your mind," like, and I'm just, nothing is coming to my mind, like my mind isn't flowing in that way.
Right.
So I feel like people that do music have a whole different brain. Like,
yeah.
How is it? Tell me about your journey as a producer.
Yeah, man, it's been a long one. Long one. Like, obviously started in church. That's usually
crazy.
That's where you usually find most musicians, because before, producers were musicians. Some of us, everyone's story is different. But I had the privilege of starting in church, and in church you're around music everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And it was crazy because at the time, I think I was about 6 years old, and my oldest brother, Harmony Samuel, shout out Harmony, he was the music director in my uncle's church, my mum's brother's church. And then one day he just got up and he was like, I'm leaving. He didn't really like the structure of how the church was being run and just certain things, and then he left. So there was no one to play keyboard at our church. And my sister was the choir leader, right? So all of us in our family are music orientated. And she goes, "You're playing keyboard next week." And I'm like, "How? I don't even know. I don't know." And I remember going home.
Wait, did you know how to play the keyboard?
I never knew. Oh. And she said to me, she was like, "You're playing keyboard next week because we don't have a keyboard player and your brother's gone. So you are the next person." And I'm like, okay. I remember going home, and in them times I had a Casio. If anyone is a musician or knows what a Casio is, you'll know that.
I'm thinking the watch.
Old school. Nah.
What is that?
You know them, like Casios, like the ones that you can
cassette.
No. Basically, the keyboard is like, it's like a Yamaha Casio. It's like an old school.
Yeah. Okay.
You just find lying around.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can play music from them.
You're talking about watch. I was thinking that doesn't even make sense. Okay, cool. Go
My
on.
bad. Yeah. I had one of those.
Yeah.
Like they were just at home. I don't know why they were at home, but they was. And I remember just pressing, and I swear the Holy Spirit was the one that led that. Now I can't even take no. It was definitely God led for sure, because I didn't have no teacher. I didn't have anyone say, press this. I literally was just pressing and using my ear. So if you know anyone that's a musician, they'll say there's a difference. There's some musicians who play by ear, and there's some people who read. The readers are the people that have lessons. That means I don't need no rehearsal. I can just get a piece of music and literally just play off of what I can see. Then there's other people who can just hear and copy.
That's insane.
Which is how I learned. And then I learned to read music as well. So yeah, it literally started in church, and then you kind of go through the church stages and you grow, and then you're in the choir. And if you're not in the choir, you're in some sort of band or something like that. And it kind of just progresses until I got to like uni. So in college, I was producing, making beats, but it wasn't anything I was looking at as a career, especially because being Nigerian, your parents are like doctor or pharmacist or whatever. So I was.
Were they quite supportive when you wanted to be a producer?
They weren't
at all.
They weren't. They definitely weren't.
Even though your brother's in the same kind of.
Yeah, they weren't. If anything, they were even more adamant why I shouldn't do it, because he's doing it.
Oh. So they said at least one of you have to buckle up.
No, for real. So it was a struggle to really get them to, I guess, understand and adhere to kind of just this direction I wanted to go in, essentially. Excuse me. And so you're just going through the motions. It got to 2009, and was making beats up until this point. And then 2009, when I went to uni, is where it kind of kicked off. And then obviously I already shout out my business partner, Mikey Music. We were going to the same church. He was a producer, I was a producer, but we weren't even thinking about being a team or anything. And in 2009, we were like, you know what? The music industry is whack in London.
So you've been doing this for time. Oh my God, 2009. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah. So we were kind of just upset about where the music space was at the time. And we were on a church retreat, and we're like, let's just be a duo. Let's just come together. And that's how we came up with Sons of Sonics.
And it's just been up from there. Yeah. So did you start before you moved to LA, or was moving? Okay, so moving to LA was like a step up, like the next step up for you.
Yeah.
How was that transition? Like, did you experience any like culture shocks as well?
Yeah, 100%. So in 2013, I hadn't spoken to my brother since 2007, 8. Obviously, my parents were like, "Don't talk to him. He's a bad boy. He's doing music." So I was kind of banned from seeing and speaking to him. And then in 2011, I'm in second year of uni. Yeah, second year of uni. And I remember him saying to me, "I'm in LA, come see me." And I'm like, "Yo, where?" The only LA I know about is the one in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't know any Los Angeles. Where the hell is this? Because you never.
Their LA in that show was different, though.
Of course,
it was very different. They were barely out. But to be honest, they were only filming in the house. So
exactly. And that house.
I didn't even know that was in LA.
Yeah, well, it's not real. The house is real, but the set is a set in it.
True.
So, but you only hear of like certain places like Tijuana and all this stuff because the show talks about them. Muslim talks about them. So So I was like, LA. And he's like, yeah, I live here now. I was like, okay. So I remember that summer, or that May, you know, university usually finishes around May. I was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 months. So I ended up going there for 3 months. And it was way more than anything I experienced. It felt like, you know, the game Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like that.
And how old are you?
21.
Damn.
21, yeah. And I just remember just being like, wait, this isn't real. Like, because at that time, like, even being 20, I probably was only traveling in and around Europe. Right?
Most people don't branch out till after, though, yeah.
No.
Especially you broke in uni.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 50p to my name.
You know what I mean? And even at the time, like, I only heard about America because I had family there. But one of my friends, he would always go there for like summer holidays and school days. And I used to always be jealous, like, damn, how come you always get to go to America? Do you get what I mean? But yeah, I had the privilege of going in 2011, and it was just like, what? I've never seen, what is this? Like, everything is just, nah, this can't be real. It's just
everyone
insane.
that goes to America comes back and says, like, it's not a real place.
It's not a real place.
Like, and I haven't been yet, but I just want to know what people mean by it's not a real place. It's
a real place, obviously.
Yeah,
but like, just like, it's
crazy
almost like,
scenes.
Yeah, it's almost like your wildest imagination's actually playing out. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't think of the maddest food that isn't made in America. Like, literally,
I'm scared of American food, though.
No, literally,
I'm
things like
scared.
Crispy Creams, but with a burger inside.
My friend went to New York like 3 months ago, and she said she had what was it? Custard Oreo and donuts. Something Oreo and donuts in a sandwich. I said, that doesn't even sound pleasant.
Exactly.
That doesn't even sound nice.
Your wildest dreams, in reality, literally, that is what that place is now.
Food is so artificial. That's scary.
So the GMOs are ridiculous. So now, I will say, America changed my life. I experienced a lot of great, great, great things. 100%. But there's obviously the other side to it as well. You know, they call it the land of the free. It almost feels like Neverland.
It's like too much freedom is not always good.
Of course, we all need boundaries, right? But it feels like Neverland. You know, when you go to Peter Pan, you go to Neverland, you never want to leave. That's what America's like.
How do you feel now?
I'm out of there.
You're ready? You're done? You've done it all?
I've 10, 12 years. Like, I've done it. And that's what the plan was. It's like, we did as much work as we could in London at the time. With the Wretches, the Stormzy's, the whatever. And we were just like, we need more. And then, you know, we were going back and forth to LA. And then 2015, 16, eventually it was like, adios. And we left London.
Do you know what I want to know, actually? Dial it back. What was your life like when you were in London? Why did you, okay, you know, I know why you wanted to leave, but like, what was your life like here? It
just felt like an uphill battle. Do you know what I mean? And I'm all for the smoke when it comes to like chasing your dreams and the work that you have to put in, for sure. I don't doubt that. But when it feels like you are putting like so much time into something and then you're not seeing the rewards of that, but then you're seeing other people just fly by you and you're just like, huh? And then you kind of think, and then you find yourself in situations where you think people are going to, you know, support what you're doing or like see your talent and push it forward, and they don't. And it's just like, huh? So you kind of start looking for pastures elsewhere. And at the time, it wasn't like things were bad, but it was like, you know, 2013, we had just worked on Ariana Grande, who, she was the biggest artist at the time. Like, she was the next Mariah Carey and whatnot. So we'd worked on her, and then it was almost like when we came back to London, no one knew who she was because she was still new, but she was number one in like 50 countries. So we thought we're going to come back and the doors are just going to fly open. We're going to work with everyone. And it was like, no, it ain't. People were like, who? We don't care. And we were like really heartbroken about that. And that's how the transition to working with Wretch came about. So we started working with Wretch, and then it was like, you need to work with a UK artist, blow up off of that, and then things kind of opened up.
Yeah, it's like a segue.
And that was literally the beginning. 6 words in 2014 was like the beginning of it with Wretch.
Who was like your favorite artist that you've worked with?
Who's the favorite one? Oof.
Shall I ask you who was your least favorite?
No. No, favorite artist to work with, one of them might be Wretch, just because there was a lot of creative freedom. And like I said, we were church boys. So when you listen to like the first and the second album, he did 3 albums for him. When you listen to the first and second ones, they have a lot of church influences in them.
Do you like write lyrics sometimes, or you strictly... Yeah. And do you know what I find weird about that? Like, you know, producers, like I said, very talented. And if you can write the song, make the beat, what stops you from just doing it yourself?
Well,
like,
but you get a lot of producers doing it now. Like,
but do you want to do it? Like, do you never just think like, I'm doing this for other people? Like, I could make it big.
Do you know what
you're
it is?
more like, I don't want to be in the limelight.
It's a mixture of things. Firstly, being in the limelight is not all what people make out to be. Like,
True.
you have to be of a certain like level of like thinking to be able to be like, I'm gonna be famous and sustained. You get what I mean? So that the idea of the limelight isn't something that I chase or want. And also like I know what it's like to be an artist and the woes of being an artist and the struggles of being an artist, and that compounded with being a producer probably just isn't something that I'm cut out for. But
do you ever feel like you're like, I don't know, like you're giving your talent to someone else, and does it ever feel like they're taking credit, or does it not feel like that for you?
I think in the earlier stages of my career, there was a purity in how I approached like music, both for Mike and I. You know, there was a purity. It was like, we're just, going to be good people, and and then you realize that like a lot of the people that you are working with, or they're just out for themselves. They just want to do what they want to do. And your heart changes, and you start looking at things a little differently. And the purity, even though you're still making music from a pure place, you don't approach situations from a pure place. So you kind of have a preconception that everyone's kind of out to take advantage of you. Do you get what I'm saying? In some sort of way. So that kind of becomes your president.
Yeah.
As you get on, and you kind of just start dealing with people from a way it's just like, well, what is it? Like, when they say there's no friends in the industry, like it's real like that. Like it's very far and few that you can pick. Yeah, that's my brethren. That person really checks for me, or that person has my best interest. Most people just get what they want, and once they get what they want, they out. They don't even look back. They don't even. Do you get what I mean? So it's just the woes of being an artist or producer, should I say, are just a lot as it is. And
is it better in London than it is in LA then?
Every country has its beast in it. Like London has its thing about it that makes you want to just leave. Outside of the industry, the weather plays a big part in itself. Listen, so it's just like,
I just finished uni, and it's like heavy on my mind. Like, where do I want to live? Because right now I'm a bit like, when you finish uni, it's like it's an interesting phase of life. Like I wouldn't say confusion, thank God, because that's probably one of the things I was most scared of. Right. I know so many people that finish uni and it's like you're confused about what you want to do, or you literally don't have a passion. But I have a passion. I'm very glad I've got a passion.
I love that.
But it's more like I have so many options and I don't know which one to pick. But then I feel like I can pick everything because I'm so young.
Yeah.
But then I don't know which to go with. Like,
I think it really just comes down to, and I think I haven't said this to you, but it's something that I've been thinking about. When people was like, "What's your why?" Right? That's important because you need a reason to do anything.
Yeah.
But I also think it's what's your will? Like, what will you do? Like, what will you choose? Because free will is essentially a choice about whether you're going to do something or not.
Yeah.
So it's just like that battle in itself is difficult. Will I? Will I not? Will I? Will I? Will I? Will I not? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I think I think once you know what your will is, like what will get you up in the morning, what will make you do it even if you don't want to do it, I think you get a little closer to what that is, because it essentially is a passion. It's something that you love, and a lot of people will work on that for years to see it succeed, even if they don't have food to eat. You get what I mean? Like something that makes you get up in the morning, something that keeps you like awake. Like, I have to see this through. Like, it's just how I looked at music. It's like there was nothing else. It's only like in the last couple of years that my ventures have been growing, and there's other things that I'm into and doing. But at one point, this was all I cared about. Guy in studio Monday to Friday, probably even Monday to Sunday.
No, do you know what I just did? Your schedule, like your life,
Yeah.
You're insane. Like, okay, not insane because it's good. But I'm just thinking back to when you woke me up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. Yeah. Like, so what's your lifestyle like? What's your passion? What do you do?
So for me, it's just like, again, like at one point it was just make music, make money, make music, make money. And then you get older and then you start learning like particular principles that really shape the type of future that you want.
Yeah.
When you're young, you base a lot of things on talent. I'm talented. Yeah, I'm talented. And you get older and it really is about principle and how you live your life and the lifestyles that you take up. So for me, I'm very much, as you know, up in the morning.
Rigid schedule.
Rigid. Straight to the gym, train.
And he spends about 7 hours in the gym as well.
I don't.
I'll go for about 30, 45 minutes.
Nah,
every couple of weeks.
Hour and a half. Hour training, 30 minutes.
That's not that bad, actually.
Yeah.
That's actually not that bad.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if you're doing it early in the morning, you still got all of this hours left.
Yeah,
of the rest of the day. So,
and it has so many other benefits. Like when I do go to the gym, which is really
when she does go.
When I do go, it's like it helps with so much my mental health. Yeah. I feel like I get more done in the day.
100%.
And I used to think like if I wake up and go to the gym at 5, I'll be super tired.
Yeah, no.
But I get so much done, and you're up at 5 before everyone's awake. You've done so much. Like
my thing used to be I got to beat the sun.
Oh,
that was always my thing. Like I want to beat because obviously when winter comes, right?
That's a shout.
It stays dark till about 7:30, 7:45. Remember school days?
Oof.
It'll be cold at 7:45, and it's still dark, right? So but usually on a normal day in maybe spring, maybe about 7, 6. I'll always be like, I gotta beat the sun. I gotta beat the sun. So, but discipline is really the key word there. Do you get what I mean? Like the discipline you need in training is also the same principle you need in financial literature. You know what I mean? The discipline in financial literature is what you also need to be able to wake up every day. It translates. So even if I'm training, going gym every day, there is something that I'm taking out that I can use in different facets of my lifestyle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, do you know actually what I want to ask you? You know, you're Nigerian, obviously.
Yeah. Like,
how much of an impact does your culture have on you as a person in general, but also on the music that you make?
It's become way more. It's become prominent as I've got older. You know, when I was young, I knew I was Nigerian. I ate Nigerian food. You know, I went to Nigerian parties, weddings, you name it. Like, I was always around the culture, but I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I did once I kind of grew up a little bit, at least into my teens, college. Then university, and then you start coming across the early Wiz Kids and the early Davidos and the early D'banjis and Two-Face Dibia.
I can't lie, D'banjis opened so many doors for people. Oh my God, he was sick. He was sick.
Yeah. And you start becoming aware. Now, I was already around a lot of this music because my parents played the fellas at home, the Ebenezer Obeys, the Sonia Costumes that like he used to play all of these songs, my dad especially. So I was always around it, but I didn't appreciate it until I guess had some sort of self-awareness and realized that, I'm Nigerian and there's a lot that comes with being Nigerian. And that probably played a really big part, you know, in terms of like my approach to music, the way I approach my drums, my melody. And it's so funny, like, because the culture and religion actually go hand in hand, which is crazy. So like being Nigerian, the traditional culture somehow merged to Christianity.
Yeah, it is. It actually is.
And merged to music. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Which is then merged to politics. Like it's all the same.
Yeah.
So there was obviously one, when you look at it like that, there's one part of it that you focus on. And then as you go through life and you experience, you realize how linked they are. And how music and politics is linked, and why the government at the time were putting fella through what he was putting through, because he would talk about a lot of the issues of the country in his music. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then it's also connected to the Christian religion.
Oh wow, Burna Boy really is inspired by him because he does a lot of that as well. Yeah.
At the time, there wasn't no social media for fella to be able to really out the government. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's just like everyone's eyes are open. So anything funny that's going on, who we blaming?
But then I also think like you can put these issues on social media, but because we consume so much content, nothing really gets as much attention for a long time. Like, for example, when something happens, like it will happen for a time, everyone will go mad about it, then you won't hear anything. Like, I just don't feel like there's any actual outrage. It's just for a time.
But it lives on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Whereas in
and there's evidence. Yeah,
in Fella's time, once they kill whoever, maybe hearing about it in a newspaper, dead after that. Whereas now, one thing, bro, people will be pulling up tweets from 10 years ago.
No, have you gone back in your Twitter to like double check that you did? I had to do that.
It's actually pretty cool.
Did you know? I feel like I was just tweeting rubbish. I was tweeting
I don't think I was ever really tweeting anything crazy like, oh my gosh, da da da. That was never
I remember
really
when I
my
realized
thing.
people were getting cancelled, and I said, let me just do a quick search.
Go back.
Because when I make it big, I was like, no
You
one
don't
can
wanna
tell me
succumb
I'm not
to,
hosting a show because of
yeah.
something I said in 2007. But that was all clear. So it's all right.
No, it's
No.
it's definitely you have to be careful.
Yeah, you know, I don't like it though. Like I like to say what, obviously nothing offensive, but I like to say what I want to say.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like there's so much that you can't say this, you can't say that. I can't even live my life how I want to live. I can't have an opinion.
Yeah, it's just...
I'm still have it, but you can't just be as free with it. Sometimes you got to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, no, we're very sensitive. We've become very sensitive. Like everything is very about feeling and how things feel, and and I don't know. That's just what it is.
I think Nigerians are in a different time zone because
100%.
in the UK everyone says my mum says some outrageous things and I'm just like, you can't say that here. But I don't feel like Nigerians have caught up to they don't care. I don't think they will.
They've never cared.
They don't care. They never will.
You're expecting a generation that is still kind of catching up to social media. I'm talking, they don't, like, even when I talk to my parents sometimes, like, even the way they hold the phone, you just think, why are you holding it so close? Like, it literally is down to, like, mere details, like, even just being used to a smartphone for them is different.
But you know what? Sometimes I get frustrated, but then I've actually come to realize that my mom's like 52. Mm-hmm. Most of her life, she didn't have this thing. Yeah. And then it's like only now in her later stage, she's got this phone and she literally has to learn everything. Sometimes she asked me how to send a picture on an email. And I was just like, Mommy, you just literally just attach it with a paper clip.
For you,
But it seems simple for me.
But for them, it's still new.
I've had to learn like patience with my mum because I feel like...
It's frustrating.
Yeah. I just think, why can't you? But then I've actually had to deep it like, it's not her fault.
My parents are in their 70s.
Wow.
Social media only really blew up when? 15 years ago? So my parents were in their 60s, really?
Yeah.
When, do you get what I mean? They were in their 50s. When what? 20 years ago. When what? When we just...
Wait, how many siblings do you have?
I'm the last of 4.
Ah, okay.
So when they were 50 odd, I was what, 10? Bruv, we were just getting phones.
Yeah.
I think in the early 2000s.
I had when I was 10, they didn't really allow me a proper phone. I had a brick phone and I used to lose it all the time. So I was only allowed £20 phones. And I used to literally drop it in the park and lose it. And I remember when I got my first BlackBerry, I literally remember it like it was yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, let me change my BBM like display picture, put my PM. That was a time and a half. I literally remember like it was yesterday. Yeah. But then I feel like because I was quite young when, I think I've always known about phones and computers.
Well, you probably came in an era where the internet was already thriving in some sort of way. For anyone that's born like 2000s and below, like
it's a bit different.
We were able to see before the internet and after the internet.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember what it was like.
Think about it.
I think I was like 3 when the internet came out.
And I was probably 15, 13?
Oh.
And I came from an era where like, you know, you had Nokia 3310s and Sony Ericssons, the flip phones, and when you wanted to send music, you would infrared.
No, I think the flip phones were lit though.
They were.
I like the flip phones.
They were. And the days of infrared where you would send music through an infrared.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
All I know is we used to send...
That's so crazy.
Infrared, I don't know what that is.
So infrared was like it's like a thing on your phone where it beams a red beam, right? And you connect it to another phone that has infrared, and that's how you would send like files or send music to people or something.
Oh, I don't know.
Before Bluetooth was even Bluetooth.
Yeah, we used to do Bluetooth.
I came from where there wasn't Bluetooth yet, infrared.
But you know what? I was born in Nigeria, so I only came when I was 7. When I was in Nigeria, like, it was pretty much like no social media. I didn't have a phone or anything. Well, I was 7, but I didn't have a phone or anything. And I literally remember, I have this thing of when I was younger, I literally thought I was way, way older than I was in my head. Like, I think there was something wrong with me because I think I was 4. Right. But then again, like in Nigeria, you are a bit more advanced than kids here. Like, I was probably 4, 5 years old. No, I would say probably, let me not stretch it, maybe 6 years old, because 4 was very young. And I was at school and my sister didn't come and get me. So I said, I'm taking my bag and I'm going. Whoa. So I've started walking, me and my cousin, we're literally like 10 days apart. So we're both 6 years old. Walking. And I think we were walking for about 2 hours. And we ended up, like, we recognized a building and it was one of my like cousin, family friend's house. So we just went there. And then obviously, I don't think there was really phones because they didn't have a way of knowing where we were.
Right,
so it was just like loads of panic. And then my cousin's mum came home and I think she was able to call my mum or something.
Right.
And then now, obviously, my sisters come and pick me up. And they put me... this might sound like I was abused, but it's normal in Nigeria. But like, we were in the front yard of like the estate, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And they just beat us because they were like, do you guys know how old you are? And you literally walked 2 hours. We even crossed like a freeway. And I was fine. I just thought it's not a big deal. But in my mind, I literally thought I was like 15. I was 6.
You were 6
years old? I
years
was 6 years old. But I can't lie. I think that's like props to us for making that journey.
Yeah, I mean, you knew the way.
We didn't know the way.
So how
I don't even know where we were going. Like, I just remember walking. Next thing you know, we're on a freeway. We've crossed the freeway. And the fact that no one even bat an eyelid at 2 6-year-olds
which is
crossing the freeway makes no sense. But then when I just saw that building, when obviously we knew, then we went into my cousin's house. So that's the only way. But other than that, if I didn't find that building, I don't actually know what would have happened because I did not know the way home.
I mean, God definitely directed you.
Yeah. But then that beaten, I would never forget in my life. And then I said, okay, next time she's late, I'm going to wait. Yeah. I'm going to wait. Yeah. Nah.
Wow. 6.
Yeah, I think my life in Nigeria was so weird. Like, I don't remember much, but I get like flashes.
I think life in any country outside of the Western countries is very, very different.
But then, because I left when I was 7 and then I didn't go back for time, obviously I'm like British. Now, if you want to call it that. I don't like to claim it, but I am.
She claims British.
Do you know why I claim it now? Because when I was on holiday, someone was like, you fucking Brits. And that's the first time anyone's ever like classed me as a Brit.
Wow.
Because we were playing music and it was basically...
Too loud.
Yeah, but then I was like, I'm a Brit. But then, yeah.
She's like, damn, I'm one of them guys.
Everywhere I go, I say I'm Nigerian. Like,
well, you are.
I am.
Even though I was born in Britain,
yeah.
I'm Nigerian through and through.
Yeah, I think that's mad
people
though.
People can decide to kick us out and say, go back to your country.
That's the good thing about like people in the UK because they still are like in touch with their African roots. Whereas 100%. In America, like they're not really in touch, which is obviously not no one's fault, but...
Yeah, I mean, America's very good at propaganda. You know? America's very good at that. So what they've done is they just made lies up and they told most people that you don't need to leave.
Yeah.
Everything you need is in our country.
So don't you think people are like breaking out of that now? Because I don't know if it's a social media thing though. Like people are going to Ghana and they're claiming like they feel like home in Ghana and stuff. Yeah. But now everyone's like hopping on it. I don't know if it's like because of socials or genuinely because they were interested.
I mean, when you think about it, like I said it, the world is changing and the technology is changing the world. So what felt like far away is probably closer than you realize.
True.
So most people now, it's just like our generation, should I say, we want to be connected to something bigger than ourselves. And because everybody's so outstretched, like you can go to any country in the world and you always see Black people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you come across Black people, where did they say they're from? Somewhere in Africa. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I'm from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Ghana. Most people come from that side and they're spluttered in different places. And then when you meet them people as a white person, as a Black American, you kind of get into who they are and where they come from, whether it's, you know, coming from somewhere in Africa or anything like that, especially in Africa. And then you hear stories of new African kids who, or first generation or whatever, who have African families and they came from Africa, gone to America, and then they've been bullied and been called booty scratchers and all of this stuff and whatnot.
It's a lot.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
So, I don't know. I always think, does that still go on now? Are people more used to...
I think more people are... It probably does still go on, but you have more people now who have friends or just know are around so much culture, especially Nigerian or African. Music is definitely a key player. But again, technology, the internet, you know what I mean? Like, if some white person or some Black American or somebody has traveled to Nigeria, there's this guy I follow on socials and he's this white guy and he's just in Nigeria. He's always
like living or... He
might as well, but he's always trying
I always like white people that... Is that weird? I always like white people that like have lived in... Like when they say they've lived in Kenya for like a couple months. Because you know when they come back, they're so like... There's a different vibe about them. Like there's this guy at work. He literally lived in Kenya for like a year or two, but he he walks around the office barefoot. I don't know if he does it because he thinks he looks like...
It's comfortable. I sometimes walk around with my socks.
Where I work, my office is like...
Yeah, that's a public place.
8 floors. Yeah. There's 3 buildings. But he's so like... Maybe he's just reached that stage of life where you just don't care anymore. Like
it happens like that. And usually when you go to such culturally different places, it does that to you. Do you get what I mean?
You just realise that some of the things that you worry about in England is very, very like...
And that's the thing. That's why, you know, like I said, like, you've got more Westerners go into these places and what's happening is it's like, oh, like, I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than myself. You know what I mean? And for the longest, you know, Black Americans haven't really attached themselves, been attached to anything other than, I'm American. It's like, okay, well, you came from somewhere.
Yeah.
You
people are starting to...
Exactly. Even if you was born here, somebody brought you here. Somebody created the opportunity for you to be here. Do you get what I mean?
And traveling really, like, opens your eyes, like... What would you say is your best traveling experience or like something that you've learned going into another country?
The world is a big place. And if I want to keep evolving and growing as a human, I have to look at the world from different lenses. And that usually happens when you travel.
Yeah.
Because everybody in different countries are wearing different lenses. Talk less of the individual.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like their own experience. But every country is a different lens. You know, the lens of Nigeria.
I like that.
Every country is a different lens. Like the lens in Nigeria is very different to the lens in Ghana, and they're only an hour apart.
Imagine.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? And then you've got the lens of America, which is completely different to the lens of Europe. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So if you're into the evolution of self and like growing as a human being, then traveling is very essential for that.
Definitely, really opened my eyes. Like, especially Thailand. I will never stop talking about that trip in my life. Like, it really did open my eyes. I really, really loved. But Nigeria as well. Like I said, because I didn't go back for years and years. Yeah. It was like, but then it was a bit like. At first, it kind of felt like a bit of a identity crisis because I was like, oh, in London, I always felt like I'm not quite British. Just because when I came, I actually had an accent, like thick accent, and people don't believe me now because they say I sound really like I'm from Southeast London.
Wow!
But my accent was very much like
about that, innit?
That I'm from Southeast London.
That you sound Southeast London.
No, I'm not.
Oh, do you miss your accent?
No, I don't. It was the strong hatred in front of everything that. Sometimes I can't lie. I do slip up sometimes. I feel like it's always ingrained in you.
Of course.
So sometimes I say "huh" and I'm like, oh. Highs and it slips out and I'm like, then I remember like, oh yeah, I'm Nigerian. But it's like once every year it comes out and I'm like, whoa. Highs. Yeah, so I definitely don't miss it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I went to Nigeria, I was thinking, oh, I thought I would like feel a bit more, like I did feel at home. I was there for a month, but this was like, I remember the first day when I got there and I was a bit like, I don't know how I feel, but then it's like, when I was like engaging with not even my family members, just other Nigerians, they treat me like I'm British.
Of course.
Obviously because of how I sound. And I just thought...
Not just how you sound, you smell different. You look different.
Yeah, there is a different smell.
When I went in 2019 for the first time, I thought I had
that was your first time too?
That was my first time. Damn. My parents obviously were like, Nigeria's dangerous, don't go. And then music eventually took me there.
Yeah.
And I just remember going there and, you know, my parents were like, make sure you dress down, don't wear nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool.
Don't wear nothing.
That made no difference. I dressed down. I took off all earrings.
I think is it your skin? They can tell.
Yeah. You look different.
What did they call you? JJC.
Yeah.
It's like, someone said it to me. Johnny just come.
Is it?
Someone called me JJC. I said, wait.
They at the time they were actually calling me Ote.
What does that mean?
So Ote
Ote, like alternative.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what they were called.
Because you have piercings?
No, well, yeah, piercings. At the time I had braids.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had twists or whatever.
Damn.
So anyone that kind of had twist or dreads or anything is like, oh, he's an Ote. He's one of the Otes.
But you know, Nigeria now, like the Ote scene is big.
Humongous.
Like whoa, it's crazy.
Yeah, because it's just. It almost comes across like a freedom of expression. Do you know what I mean? Like whether that's you doing dreads, twist, because as you know, our culture is very, very hell bent on appearance. So it's just like if you have long hair and all this stuff, you're a bad boy.
I think it's definitely engraved in me because for some reason I still not like I think it, but like when I see people with dreads or plaits, it's not really a big deal anymore. But I think deep down in the back of my mind, I always think. But I think that's because my mum has just always made it like a thing, but it's really not that.
Yeah,
it's not that serious.
My mom, I'll never. When I first went to Nigeria in 2019, she was nervous. She was like, "You're going to Nigeria?" I'm like, "I have to."
Did you go by yourself?
No, my business partner.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was there for a camp. I had to go, and she was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have to go." She was like, "Okay, I'll be praying." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I remember the day of, I threw up in the morning because that was the first time I'd taken malaria tablets.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't react to it well, right? And my mom was like, "That's it. I've made the decision. You're not going." I said, "No, I have to go, bro."
How old are you at this point?
I was definitely, 29? 2019, I was definitely 28, 29.
No, I've made the decision for my grown son.
Because I was actually leaving from the house. So I flew to London and then everyone's flying from here.
Yeah.
So I was staying at their house.
You can't go straight from America. You have to stop in London.
Well, because the company that was bringing us Universal Nigeria, they had booked the tickets from London to Nigeria. And Nigeria. It's just easier that way.
Yeah.
So I'd already made my way to London. So I was at my parents' house. So I remember the morning of, my mom was like, "Hey, I've made this executive decision. You're not going. Nah, you're not ill. That's God giving you a son." I'm like, "Woman, I have to go. There's nothing I can do." And I remember getting there and just thinking, they've deprived me because there was so much that I probably could relate to.
Yeah.
Even though our lifestyles are very different and I was definitely way more privileged, there was a lot of things that we could relate on just being black. Just being...
I can't explain to you the feeling of because I've been in London for way too long. You know, when I got there and I was like, everybody's black. I've deep that. I didn't actually realize walking around... You know, when you're in London, sometimes, especially if let's say you work in a job that's predominantly white, or you live in an area when you see that one black person, it's like you feel
joy.
Something. I don't know what you feel, but it's like you feel something, or you'll more likely go to them if you see them in a room.
100%.
But then I was in Nigeria and I was like, I don't know why it shocked me, but everybody was black, and I was like, this is not even something that I thought was a thing that was gonna have any sort of impact on me. But
Harvey said it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, Steve Harvey said it in the interview. He was just like, one of the greatest things for him going to Africa was he didn't feel like a minority. He wasn't a minority.
That's it. That's what it is.
And I was like, that's so true. You can walk around and not feel like someone's going to be like, go back to your country.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
But there's other things that will still shout at you.
Course,
but it's just
but
it was actually a really nice feeling. I'm not going to lie.
There's nothing compared to seeing your fellow man, same color skin, eating probably the same food. Everything, there's a lot of familiarity there.
Yeah, and when everyone was eating rice for breakfast, it just confirmed to me. Because when I eat rice for breakfast, some people think it's weird, but when I eat rice for breakfast, I was like, this is where I get it from.
Yeah.
I can eat pounded yam at 7 a.m.
Which is very mad.
Yeah.
Which is very
It does explain
but
a lot.
I get it because even me being born in London, living in London, there was a point where I loved pounded jam so much. It was everything. It was just being 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And your parents just making pounded jam and okra and stew. And that was life. That was everything. Do you get what I mean? So I can and the taste of it was just exquisite.
Yeah.
So I could eat that probably 3 times a day and be cool.
Yeah,
and then you get older and you're
not a healthy diet.
Starch.
It's so. What even is it?
These uncles walking around with stomachs.
What even is it? What even the powdered one? What is it?
It's just a lot of starch.
It's just flour.
Yeah, exactly. And it just imagine eating that over the course of 50 years.
It does explain the uncle belly.
Exactly,
Which I'm not gonna lie, the food in Nigeria, obviously there's some good restaurants here. 100%. I like my mum's food, 10 out of 10.
For sure.
But when I had the food in Nigeria, I said, nah. I could do this. I was like, I think I might move here.
The only thing that's not
so fresh.
That's not good is it doesn't last long in your stomach. You will be in the bathroom the day after.
No, people say that, but I've never experienced that.
I definitely, maybe because you were born there, and you're used to it.
And that's what I was saying to Tracy, because my cousin Tracy, we went to Nigeria together, and she says every time she goes, it's horrible. The food doesn't sit right with her. But I genuinely think there's certain things that I don't really remember much being in Nigeria, but it's engraved in me.
Yeah, when you're born there, you're remember from being inside the stomach, your parents are used to drinking the water, they're used to drinking just eating the food that's made with the water.
Yeah.
So the baby's naturally used to it. Whereas for me, I'm coming from a completely different demographic of how we eat food and how we drink water. So when I'm there and they're like, don't drink from the tap, or I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
Tap
But
water
then
in Nigeria
they're still
is
using
crazy.
but they're still using the tap water to wash plates, to make food. Essentially, do you get what I'm trying?
Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
if you're making pound of jam, you need water, right?
Yeah.
No one's using bottled water. You're using tap water. Do you understand what I'm saying? So literally everything and anything has water in it. Everything. So that with my system
Actually, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, so that in my system never sits right. So always the first or two. Like I remember I went to Marrakein. You mentioned Marrakein. It's like a restaurant in Lagos, right? And I just remember going there, and the food tasted so good, and I was just like, I'm gonna pay for this.
You're suffering the consequences. No, I think I've got a stomach of steel. Then I never really get food poisoning either.
Yeah, no, I've never really had food issues. It's just when I'm in Nigeria, it just doesn't last long.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, food in the fridge in Nigeria doesn't last long either. If you notice.
Yeah.
In London, if you make food, you could probably 3 days.
Yeah.
2-3 days.
True. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you make jollof rice or anything like that and you put it in the fridge, by the day after, it's already smelling.
Is it the weather or
it's the weather, the water, but also like, for instance, like the voltage, right? The voltage in Nigeria can't contain fresh fruit like that anyway. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, and because it's so fresh, you're not really meant to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because loads of our food here is like preservative, like it's
preservative. Yeah. Whereas the food is fresh, so
the
moment
it tastes so much better though. I think it's worth even if I had the
runs.
Yeah, I think I would still be eating it. And just pay for it.
Yeah, it just doesn't last long. Like it literally will be done within like a day.
Yeah, you lot be suffering. There's some pros to be born in Nigeria.
No, but it's crazy because like sometimes I'll go to like just brush my teeth or they'll be like, don't use the tap water. And I'm like, damn.
I can't lie, but I can imagine what's in that water. Yeah, I can imagine what's in that water. Very scary.
Very scary.
Very scary. I remember when we went on a boat ride in Nigeria, and you know in other countries you would even jump off the boat and swim. I was like, oh, what would happen if like I went overboard? They were like, do you know what's in this water? I said, no, you can't even swim. But to be fair, swimming in the sea is like, do you swim in the sea? Have you ever?
I have.
Have you ever jumped off the boat in the middle of the sea?
Never.
I can't lie. I geared myself up to do it. When I went to Cyprus.
Yeah.
I don't, but see, do you see my story? I jumped in with a life jacket first.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
After I did it, when I went scuba diving, everything in my body was just telling me human beings are not meant to be in the water. Like I was fighting for my life. You know when you go like really deep in the water, your ears pop and your head starts to feel like it's like you've been scuba diving,
100%, yeah.
But do you like it?
No.
Did you do it once and never again?
That's it, done. I don't see the thing about me is just like I don't mind trying things once.
Yeah.
Once I've done it once, I can say I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
I did it and it was just, I don't know what part I enjoyed. Maybe when I saw a couple fishes, but it was when they threw me in the water with like my weights on, I already felt like I shouldn't be here. And then as soon as we were going down, and my ears started popping.
Yeah.
But then it was actually really beautiful. Like when we were walking on the rocks and I was like, there's actually so much more to like this world. Like
100%. We only know 5% of the oceans.
That fact really scares me. Fact really scares me. Every time someone says it, it's like,
yeah, it's too deep.
Why are people going in the water?
Because there's so much to discover.
Yeah.
You know, you can actually tell like when the earth formed from knowing that sort of information. Same way people are going into space and going deep. Do
you think people are going into space? You know, there's two sides to that argument. Because I'm on the side that I don't believe it, but everyone says I'm like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it, but then I don't believe it. There's a lot of things pointing to it being true, and there's a lot of things pointing to. So I mean, I'm in, what's the word? Not indecisive, or what's in? There's no real decision.
Indifferent. Like you don't care.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Indifferent.
I think I don't know. Like especially one time when I actually was like sitting down reading the Bible word for word, yeah, and it literally just said there's a firmament that separates heavens, and I was just like, if I do believe there's a firmament, how are you leaving? Have you watched The Truman Show by any chance? It's a movie. Yeah. It just reminds me of that. Like
The Truman Show with Jim Carrey.
Love that movie. Yeah, that's what I picture the firmament being. Like, how can you even leave? So there's the argument of like no one's gone to space, it's all fake. Investigate NASA, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's many reasons that points to it being true. and but one thing I do believe is there is a higher being. There is God.
Oh, 100%.
And the stories of how it the world began, at least from a biblical sense, ties in very much with science. Very, very much with science.
At the Big Bang.
At the Big Bang. Do you know what I mean? So all of this other stuff about space and stuff could not be true. But what I do know is there is a higher power that is very.
So you don't class yourself as religious, right? You're more, would you say spiritual, or?
I'm just a believer.
In God, or just?
I'm a believer in God.
Yeah.
And I think when we had this conversation a while back, I had said to you, it's just like, for me, just being like, I'm a Christian. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I came from that since I was a child. And I think as I've been on my own walk, there's a lot of things that I've become privy to, things that I've been able to understand. And I'm a firm believer that I'm not someone who is like, I'm a Christian, so I condemn every other. I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of...
I think that's really important, That's one thing that I want to say irks me. Like, I don't like it. You don't have to, because one time I went to a church and they said their sole mission was converting Muslims to Christianity. But that never sat right with me. I just thought, what? What kind of mission is that?
You're almost trying to indirectly say that our religion is right and yours is wrong.
Yeah, like that mission was very wild to me. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, and those are part of the reasons why I'm just like, I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I also believe that, people who are Muslim and pray to Allah is their way of saying they believe in God. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'm in no way saying that because I, believe in God or Jesus, that somebody else's idea of what God is wrong to you. If you're born into it, then that's all you're gonna know.
Yeah.
Unless there is an encounter between you and God says to you, "It's this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until then, live your life the best way.
I would definitely say I would class myself as a Christian, but one thing that you said when we had this conversation was like, think about all the generations that have taught their children, this is the only way to God, this is the religion that we're going to follow, and then it passed down. Of course, it's going to be like engraved in you so much that you 100% believe that is facts, that's the truth, and no one else can tell me otherwise.
100%.
Which I guess everyone's doing that like out of love, I guess, because that's what my mum says. Doing it out of love. If you knew something was the right way in your mind, you would obviously want to tell your child and put them in that right path. But then growing up, I found that the like hyper focus on go to church, Sunday school, it actually made me resent church for a long time, and it's been like such a battle. Like getting back, it's been a mental battle.
There.
Like
I was
getting back into it, and I actually did not go to church for like 2 years. And then one day, off my own back, I was just like, do you know what? Yeah. In fact, it was more lockdown. Like lockdown, I had like an encounter with God.
Wow.
And it was just crazy to me. And that just clarified in my mind, like, I've been going to church all of my life. It was like one day, I literally was in bed and I was like, God, if you're real, show me.
Yourself.
If you're real, show me. If you're real, show me. If you're real, show me. I said it so many times. And then I thought, okay, I'll wait and see. I thought it was going to be instant. It wasn't instant. And then I think it was either like the following day or in that same week, I had I had two actually. It was the maddest thing I've ever experienced. So now it's like no one can ever tell me
that God isn't real.
But not only that, no one can ever tell me that when there's not a spiritual realm, if you want to call it that.
100%.
But then what really just stuck with me is all my years of going to church, and I literally was just in my bed and I said, God, show me. And that's when I saw it. But all my life, I've never had an encounter, never felt like I had a relationship. And it was just that one-on-one. And it genuinely felt like God was present. Rather than, I feel like I have to go to church to experience God. God is literally there. Like, he's ever present. Like,
he's everywhere.
And that just unlocked it in my mind for me. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the real, that's why when I was saying like the whole idea of like calling myself a Christian, it feels a little limited in some sort of way, because I feel like the stigma with Christianity is that, we're very judgmental, and, I feel like when it comes to believing in God, there's a freedom that comes with that. God doesn't force you to believe in him. It's a choice you make. Whereas with Christianity, it almost forces you, like, and they brandish it. If you don't do it, you go to hell. and all of these things. Do you get what I mean? And like you go through these moments where you're just like, if you're real, show yourself to me. And yeah, and then I feel like I just got to a place where I was just like, this is not about like going church every Sunday. It's about a relationship, right? Okay, cool. So I can work on that relationship anywhere and everywhere. Do you get what I mean? And once I kind of became aware of that, it became less about signing in every Sunday.
Clocking in, clocking out. I've done it for the week. I don't need to do it again.
I'm good in it. Yeah, like go church on Sunday, praise God, and then Monday you're just doing that madness. Do you know what I mean? Like it became more about...
Or like Saturday night you're doing the madness.
And then Sunday
and then
you know what I mean? Which
you know what?
Which is not a problem
either.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
About it, there's no issue with that. Do you get what I mean? Like I said, it's like if there's a relationship with God, like there are just certain things that you will and will not do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I said it to you before, like even the way we look at 10 commandments, it's more so for me commitments rather than commandments. Because if I'm committed to my relationship with God, like any committed relationship, I just wouldn't do certain things. Certain things are just off limits. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it. That's why I can't be bamboozled or no preacher can just come to me and be like, I had a dream last night. Yeah, great. Yeah,
it's
thanks.
always a dream.
Yeah.
No, but to be honest, like even though I feel like I am open-minded and I would say I'm a Christian, but then I do still think there is like a powerful thing about church, especially when I found the church that I like. It was like the presence that I felt in the church is always great. It's always great to be around other people that have the same beliefs. So
100%. No, I'm definitely for the gathering of brethren.
Yes. But like you said, well, like the Bible says, you can literally gather where 2 or more are gathered.
It could be 2 people. It doesn't have to be a multitude of people. Like, and I think for me, like I said, like I've become a lot more privy to just myself. And when you become really self-aware, there are certain things that you may let like slide when you were younger, when you didn't know much.
Yeah.
And you're older, you're like, nah, that ain't. You know, you remember that Charlemagne the God thing where he's like, nah, that ain't it. That literally is it. Like I'll be listening to it, I'll be like, nah, that ain't it. You know what I mean? I don't like to judge in any way, but I just know me in it. You know what I mean? I know what stirs my spirit up.
Do you know what's mad? Like, I remember being not self-aware, but I remember being younger and that never really crossed my mind. And I remember the moment where I became very self-aware as a human being. And it was like when I was 19. Right. And then, like, I said this to my friend over there, and she was like, you're just strange. I said, before that moment, I thought I could do no wrong ever. I thought I have no flaws. I don't know if that's for everyone or like, And then I remember, like, it was literally after I turned 19 and I just had a moment of like, I feel like I just became more self-aware. And then I started realizing, okay, not everything you do is right. And not everything you say is like the right thing to do. This is where the bossiness comes in. I speak, everything I say is right. But yeah, so like when do you feel like you became like self-aware and started looking inside?
Maybe 2028, 29?
2028?
No, 28, 29 years old.
Oh, I was
No, we ain't there yet. No, 2018, 19.
Okay.
And this was probably around the time when I went to Nigeria for the first time. And 2018, I was just, there was this guy who I used to listen to called Miles Monroe. I think I told you the story, right? God rest his soul. And his teachings have always just been very different. And he used to come to my church, ironically, like in 2006. Whenever he would come, he would preach these messages about kingdom living, about being a kingdom citizen, all this stuff. And everybody would be like, ooh, that's deep. And it's like, you don't know what the hell he's talking about. None of us do, right? And then in 2018, like a clip of something he had said that had been around for a long time pops up and I hear it, but I hear it completely different, right? And the clip he says in the clip, your future is God's history. God is taking you where he's already been. That's why success is inevitable to every human being if they follow God's plan. So I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Wait. I've heard this. I've heard him preach it, but it made sense for the first time. Your future is God's history. Wow. So what's ahead of you? He's already... And from that moment, my head blew. So it was like, wait, so hold on a second. So that means that he's already finished everything. So that means there's nothing I need to really worry about.
Mm.
Or my brain just went down this wormhole.
Yeah.
And I was like, rah. And that's literally where it began. And I even posted it. I remember the day because I posted on my stories on my Instagram. And I just remember being like, rah, like your future is God's history. That's why success is inevitable to every human being if they follow God's plan. Rah, this is mad. So my brain's like, huh? And then like I'll go back to like, so from that moment when I would go back to old messages and he would say things like, like we don't even realize like how powerful the Lord's Prayer is, like what God is saying in it. So it's just like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, where thy will be done, where on earth as it is in heaven. So, and then he made a statement, was just like, we're so concerned about as Christians, so concerned about going to heaven when the Lord's Prayer says his will be done on earth.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the hyper focus on like trying to, trying to get
to heaven, like
get to heaven,
and it's just like, why? This isn't your domain, bruv. The whole point of me making earth was for this for you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And even that is just like, because when you come from an African traditional, Christian background, it's very much about heaven and hell. It's very much about good and evil. It's very much about being a good person so you can go to heaven. And then you come across these teachings where it's just like, nah, heaven isn't necessarily a place. It's more a mindset. You know what I mean?
You can like you said, you can experience heaven.
You can experience heaven here.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, we're concerned about getting there. And it's just like, no. Like, wherever we think heaven is God's domain. And only God resides there. You get what I'm trying to say? Our job is to change the world. He gave us, your will be done on earth. Your will, wherever it is in that heavenly place, is to come here on earth. This is where it's needed. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I just want to finish off by saying, like, what are 3 things that have really, like, let me rephrase that. What 3 things have you learned? What 3 things have you learned from this year? What have you learned about yourself or life in general? Top 3.
First thing that I've learned is to always remember that God is good no matter what.
All the time.
And I say that because I feel like as humans, the way our mind is set up is, it's easy to always blame something when things don't, blame somebody or something when things don't go the way you want it to. And I found myself in many positions or many situations being like, but how comes? How did you let it happen? Like, but why? And I think this year I really was just like, you're still good. Like, this ain't your fault. I'm putting blame on you for something that you had no hand in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we forget that, like, life has to life. Whether that's bad things happening, whether that's good things happening, like, the cycle has to happen. And wherever you are in your season, you can't control that. You know what I'm saying? Like, bad things happen to really good people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, something bad not happening to you isn't based on how much good you do. Whether I go and I empty my account, whether I go and sell my things, give it to it, I'm still gonna come across bad shit. There's nothing I can't escape that. And I think learning that allowed me to be a little more graceful in my approach to certain situations. Like, yeah, it's bad, but God is still good. Yeah, it's bad, but it could be worse. Yeah, it's bad, but something else has to come out of it. It's a perspective change. You know what I mean? It's the gratitude that I find myself in when situations happen. That is definitely top.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I think I've learned more to, like, not let things get to me so much. If something bad happens or something I don't want to happens, like, before, I can't lie, it would really I think I'm quite specific with how I want things to go. Yeah. And now that I've, like, kind of, it feels like I'm in I was going to say passenger seat, but who's driving? God. Yeah, no, but yeah, 100%. It feels like more like when I let go of trying to plan everything and be in control, I feel way more at peace. When something happens, I just take it as, like, redirection. Before, I would take it as, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Yeah, like, woe is me. Like, it was so it was such a negative mindset. And I'm so glad that I don't know how, but my mindset has shifted. And now I'm able to, I feel like I can go, if something bad happens, I don't dwell on it. I don't dwell. I used to dwell.
Yeah, it's a perspective change because
Yeah.
you realize that like you can't escape all the things that are destined to happen. You can't.
Yeah.
And how long you remain in it determines on the perspective that you have towards the thing. So if I'm like, why me? Why me? Why me? Every day, 2 years goes by.
Yeah.
And then you compare that to a perspective that's like, all right, why not me? Like, all right, well, there has to be some greater thing. So let me just keep doing what I'm used to doing. You know what I mean? And you don't stay in that space, you know what I mean? It kind of brings me back to a statement that I heard. Someone said you can't skip steps, but you can speed through them. You can't skip, but you can speed through them.
You gotta go for it. You gotta do it.
But you speed. How you speed through them is how long you stay in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like whether something's happened or not, like if you dwell on it, it's not gonna change anything.
Not gonna change it.
You're just gonna be in the same spot dwelling on it until you let it go, then you can move on. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, there's a book called The Alchemist. It says it in it. It's like you have a situation in front of you. Can you do something about it? Don't worry about it.
Is that the one that's got
the thing on the front of it?
It's like the little what's them things called?
Drawing.
Yeah. I think I've seen that.
Book.
Yeah.
So it's just like you have two situations, one bad and one good. Can you do anything about it? No. Still don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Even if you can do something about it, you still don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Or if you can, then just do it then. Yeah.
Just don't worry about it.
Have you got a second thing that you learned this year?
A second thing I learned this year is patience. I've always known that any form of success, any form of harvest is tied to being patient. But it got tested this year. And you understand that like earth years is very different to like spiritual years. Some say heaven years. And sometimes when we expect God to be like, God, it's been 10 years. It's like, it's been 10 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? If you really understand how like space works and how there is no time signature or time in space, right?
True, yeah.
So everything we're basing it on is what our minds can reach, which is a 24-hour period. I've been doing this for 10 years and God's like, boy, in my eyes, it's been 10 minutes. Do you get what I mean? So learning patience, learning that in the period of waiting, there is still an active pursuit that I must be on. You know what I mean? And that's where consistency comes from, right? So while I'm being consistent, in the gym, for instance, I still got to be patient to see the results. I'm going to go gym for 2 days.
See, that's why I don't go gym. Because I'm like, why am I not skinny after a week? Like,
it doesn't
work.
No,
I'm joking.
It just doesn't. But you see what I'm saying about how discipline in one thing is attributed to so many other facets of life. So it's just like, if I go gym for 2 days and then look at myself and I'm like, I still got this fat. What's going on? It's just like, okay, go for 2 weeks. 2 years, 2 months, and then you will see this is the ethos of life. This is like things change gradually over time, especially when you're working on something. Yeah. So
my friend actually says like success isn't tied to motivation because motivation.
That is you could be home.
Yeah. So it's tied more to discipline, and that's 100%.
Said it at the beginning when we started speaking. Like discipline is the real key to achieving anything. You get what I mean? It's the level of sacrifice because anything that you want to achieve requires to take something from you. Yeah. It's going to give you something, but it has to take something. Yeah. Whether that's time, whether that's energy, whatever it needs to take that thing because it's through that process that you're pruned, through that waiting period that you learn, right? And then when the final product comes out, it's like, oh, and then you have people going, I want to be like that. All right, 20 years, mate.
Yeah, that's the thing. People see the end result and they're like, oh, yeah. When if you were to show the real process of things,
the reason why a fitness instructor can be a fitness instructor is because they've done the work to be able to be in a position where they can be like, hey, this if you want to get here, this is what you have to do. That's why we have entrepreneurs. That's why we have what do we call them? These people, what do they call influencers?
Oh,
like people that are in positions of power because they've had to put in the work so that people that us can speed through the steps but can't skip through them. You see what I'm trying to say? So you would expect somebody who is 20 years old to be able to not have to go through something that's like someone who's 40 years old. Yeah. Like, you expect a 40-year-old to be like to the 20-year-old, yo, don't go here.
Yeah.
Don't do this. They're going to come across their own struggles, but it's going to be like, all right, you're missing this. You're missing this.
Yeah.
Go here. Don't go here. Like, that's the whole
And
point.
do you know what? That's why I'm so appreciative, like, that I'm sort of around like a lot of older people and I have so much like older influence. Even meeting you, like we just met and
literally.
you actually like are a role model for me, like really and truly, like everyone around me that's older, that's successful, doing well, it really does motivate me. And because I feel like you guys are really transparent about your journey, it doesn't like, what's the word? Like it's kind of prepared me for mine and I can see the trajectory of where I'm going and I'm not like gonna be fazed by the hard days and God willing, not going to be fazed by the hard days. And you guys actually really do inspire me.
Yeah, nice. The generation is meant to get easier every decade. Now, like where my brother is right now, the age I am now, my brother had just worked on his first big song. 33, I've been able to be Grammy nominated, work on some of the biggest artists known to man.
Crazy.
At 33. He had just got to Los Angeles at 33. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's just like, as you're passing on the information, like the steps have to still be taken. Like the path has to still be walked, but you're able to run a little faster rather than kind of be like, okay, one step. Let me see because somebody else has already taken that step. And they can be like, there's a pothole there. Do not go down there.
And that's what I think. That's what really keeps me motivated because sometimes I get like in my own head about. I need to be doing more, I need to be doing more, I need to be... And sometimes I just hear a little gem of like, you know, when I was 22, you know what I was doing? I was like, and then it just, okay, let me just calm down. Like, if I feel like, for example, I'm already a step ahead than my sister was at this age, like, I'm so happy about that because
100%.
She's been able to provide that for me.
100%.
So like I said, I've sped through some of the steps. So that's benefits of being the youngest child.
I mean, it's the benefit of coming after someone who's laid the way already. Do you know what I mean? Like, when the way is laid already, like you just need to just step.
And I can't wait to do that for someone else. I literally can't.
And that's what I'm saying. Somebody else. You're going to probably end up mentoring someone soon. Or someone's going to be like, I really like how you do what you do. How do you do it? At 15, and you're like, all right, well, do this, don't do this. And even if you're not directly in contact with them, they're looking at you on social media, when you go to work, whatever it is, somebody's looking at you. Like, somebody's looking at you as their ideal person that they want to become, or version of themselves they want to see.
I like that.
You know? So it's just, that's why I always say, like, it's bigger than you. You're a part of it. It's not about you, it's through you.
Oh, you have all these, like,
little one-liners, gotta drop them once in a while.
What is going on? You literally have, like, I don't think you deep it, like, you should write a book, a book full of quotes that will get you through life.
Boy, I might,
You should. You have a lot of good one-liners.
Yeah, it's just things that you pick up,
very uplifting.
From studying and learning and your own experience.
Yeah.
It's mad that you say that because I think I said to you one time that if I did write a book, I would definitely write a book about wills. Like I said, when people will be like, what's your why? For me, my book would be called What's Your Will?
Don't let them know yet. Someone's going to steal it.
What's your will? Like,
yeah.
Like, the will is one of the most powerful things that we have as a human being. Is we get to choose. You know what I mean? And if you're able to fight the battle of your will, you'd win a lot more.
Yeah.
Lose. Coming soon.
Moses, I've really enjoyed this whole conversation, Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
And so guys, the 2 and 2 podcast will be everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. So just tune in and follow us on all social media at 2 and 2 pod. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.